When Chowking first opened its doors in Los Angeles, it wasn't met with curiosity or excitement. It was met with laughter. The year was 2008. Sunset Boulevard, the legendary stretch of neon and palm trees, was already crowded with global fast food giants. McDonald's, In-N-Out, Panda Express, Taco Bell, all lined up like symbols of American comfort. And then came a small red and yellow restaurant from the Philippines with a name that made people smirk. Chowking? What's that supposed to mean? Some kind of knockoff Chinese place? Man, these Asians are wild and they just put noodles and rice together and call it fusion. That's how it started, with jokes. To Americans, Chowking looked strange. Its menu was confusing. There were siopao next to fried chicken, halo beside wonton soup, and something called chow fan that no one could pronounce correctly. When the first customers walked in, they didn't come because they were curious. They came because they were daring each other. One YouTuber even posted a vlog titled, "Trying Filipino Chinese food in LA. Pray for my stomach." The comments were cruel. This looks like leftovers from 3 different restaurants. Why would I eat this when Panda Express exists? This is the weirdest fast food I've ever seen. But behind the counter, the Filipino workers smiled anyway. They were used to being underestimated. Among them was a woman named Luz Manalo, who had just arrived from Quezon City 6 months earlier. She worked the night shift, cleaning tables, refilling halo ice, and serving hot bowls of mami. Every night before closing, she'd whisper a prayer to the tiny Stommer Niño figurine hidden under the register. "Lord, help this restaurant stay open," she'd say. "It's our second home." Because for Luz and the small team of Filipinos running that first branch, Chowking wasn't just a business. It was a taste of home. It reminded them of afternoons back in Manila, of jeepney rides to the mall, of air-conditioned food courts filled with the smell of garlic rice and sweet soy sauce. To them, Chowking wasn't about competition. It was about belonging. But Los Angeles didn't care about that. The reviews on Yelp were brutal. 2 stars. The rice is weird. 1 star. Why is there ice cream in this dessert with beans? 3 stars. Nice staff, but the food is confusing. For a while, the branch barely survived. The franchise owners almost gave up. Rent in the area was high and foot traffic wasn't translating into sales, until one night, everything changed. It started with an Uber driver named Andre Wallace. He was a tall, broad-shouldered African-American man who drove through LA traffic for 12 hours a day. He didn't care much for Asian food, but one night he was starving, broke, and desperate for something quick. The nearest drive-thru was closed, except for one place. "Chowking? Man, what is this place?" he muttered, pulling over. He walked in, tired and irritated. Luz greeted him with her usual bright voice. "Good evening, sir. Would you like to try our chow fan or halo?" Andre blinked. "I have no idea what you just said." She laughed softly. "It's okay, sir. Maybe I give you something simple. Fried chicken and rice, yes?" He nodded. "Chicken and rice. That I understand." She served him a plate, Chowking fried chicken with steaming garlic rice and a side of pancit. Andre sat in a corner and took 1 bite. He froze. The chicken was crispy outside, juicy inside, more flavorful than anything he'd had at KFC. The rice was fragrant, buttery, and seasoned just right. He ate the entire plate in minutes, then ordered another. That night, he posted on TikTok. "Yo, I just found this spot called Chowking on Sunset. Y'all sleeping on this food? It's fire." The video got 200,000 views overnight. The next morning, customers lined up. Not Filipinos, but curious locals who saw Andre's post. They came in joking, but they left impressed. "Wait, why is this so good?" one said, mouthful of lumpia. "Bro, that rice slaps," another laughed. Within weeks, the laughter started to fade, replaced by fascination. People began learning to say the names. Siopao, halo chow fan. Food vloggers started calling it the hidden gem of LA. One even said, "This tastes like comfort food from another world." Luz noticed the difference immediately. The kitchen that once echoed with silence was now alive, the sound of sizzling oil, laughter, and taglish conversations. Even her boss, a quiet man named Mr. Rivera, began smiling again. "We might actually make it," he told her one night, but success always attracts attention, and not always the good kind. A few blocks away, the manager of a major fast food chain began complaining. "These Filipino places are stealing our customers," he said. "It's a fad. It won't last." Soon after, rumors started. Fake reviews appeared online calling Chowking's food unsanitary or unsafe. But the loyal customers fought back. No way. That place is cleaner than half of LA, one wrote. You can taste the love in that food. For the first time, Americans weren't just eating Filipino food, they were defending it. By the end of that year, the Chowking on Sunset Boulevard had tripled its daily sales. Filipinos from across California drove for hours just to taste it again. The halo melting in the California heat, the smell of garlic rice wafting through the air. Local TV picked up the story. A reporter interviewed Luz asking, "What makes Chowking special?" She smiled and said, "Because it's not just food. It's home, sir. Every spoon of rice, every bite of siopao, it reminds us that we belong here too." The clip went viral. And somewhere in that crowd of viewers was a Filipino teenager named Elian Cruz, born and raised in California, but always shy about his roots. He saw Luz speaking proudly about her culture, and something shifted inside him. He didn't know it yet, but Chowking would soon change his life too, because what started as a joke on Sunset Boulevard was about to become a global symbol of Filipino pride. And for the Americans who once laughed, they were about to discover just how powerful a simple meal of rice and love could be. By the summer of the next year, the laughter had stopped. The Chowking branch that everyone mocked on opening week was now impossible to ignore. Lines wrapped around the block on weekends. Tourists posed outside the red and yellow storefront for photos. The restaurant that once smelled of quiet desperation now smelled like victory. Garlic frying in hot oil, steamed siopao puffing open in bamboo trays, and halo glistening under California sunlight. It wasn't just food anymore. It was a phenomenon. TikTokers came with cameras ready, shouting, "Okay, today we're trying this Filipino place called Chowking that everyone says is crazy good." They'd taste the food, expecting to laugh, but then their eyes would widen. "Oh my God, what is this? Why is this rice better than anything I've ever had?" Comments flooded in. "Bro, I'm not even Filipino and I'm obsessed. Forget Panda Express. Chowking is next level. I can't pronounce anything here, but I want to eat all of it." Soon, the restaurant wasn't just a spot for Filipino immigrants craving home. It became a meeting place for everyone: Americans, Koreans, Latinos, Arabs, Europeans. The smell of soy sauce and star anise was now the smell of cultural connection. Inside, Luz watched with quiet pride. She still worked her shifts, still said, "Good morning, Po," out of habit, even if most customers didn't understand it. But she noticed something different now. Respect. One night, a group of young white college kids walked in. They were loud and curious. "Hey, ma'am," one of them said to Luz, "can you tell us what's good here?" She smiled. "Everything is good, sir. But if you want my favorite, try the chow fan, and don't forget the siomai." They laughed and said, "Okay, we'll trust you." Minutes later, they were devouring it like kids at a birthday party. One of them turned to her, mouth full, and said, "You were right. This is amazing," she smiled again. "That's Filipino food, sir. Always made with love." And those words, "made with love," somehow became the heart of the entire movement. A week later, a famous food vlogger named Mason Gray came to visit. He had millions of subscribers on YouTube, known for reviewing everything from Michelin star restaurants to $1 street food. He wasn't easy to impress. He sat at a small table in the corner, camera rolling, as Luz served him a full spread: chow fan, fried chicken, siopao, siomai, and halo. He looked skeptical. "All right, I've heard about this place. Let's see if it's hype or heartbreak." He started eating, first the fried chicken. His eyebrows raised. Then the chow fan, his face changed. Finally, he tried the halo. He put the spoon down, speechless. "This," he said slowly, "is the most underrated fast food in America. I'm not kidding. Chowking deserves respect." That video hit 10 million views in 2 days. Suddenly, Chowking Challenge became a hashtag. Influencers posted their reactions, families filmed themselves trying Filipino dishes for the first time, and Filipino Americans began proudly commenting, "That's my childhood right there." In just 3 months, sales in Los Angeles doubled again. 2 more branches opened in San Diego and San Francisco. Filipino expats wept as they watched the news. A Filipino fast food chain is taking over California. It wasn't just a victory for Chowking, as it was a victory for Filipino Culture, Luz received an award from the franchise owners for Employee of the Year. They said her warmth, humility, and smile had made the restaurant feel like home to everyone. She blushed on stage, clutching the small plaque, but behind the scenes, another story was unfolding. Remember Elian Cruz, the Filipino-American teenager who saw her on TV months earlier? He was now a culinary student at UCLA. Inspired by that one clip, he had started researching Filipino cuisine, how soy sauce, vinegar, garlic, and sugar created the signature timeless flavor that defined the nation's dishes. He began cooking tuyo pasta in his dorm room, making adobo tacos for his classmates, and posting videos about it. His tagline was simple: Filipino food deserves the world, and people listened. By coincidence or fate, Elian applied for an internship and was accepted at Chowking's Los Angeles branch. On his first day, he met Luz in person. "You're the lady from the news," he said, almost starstruck. Luz laughed. Anak, don't say that. I'm just the lady who wipes the tables." But Elian shook his head. "No, ma'am. You're the reason I started cooking." From then on, they became a team. The motherly worker from Quezon City and the passionate student born in California. Together, they brought ideas to the kitchen. Elian experimented with new versions of classic dishes: chow fan with California chili oil, halo with locally sourced fruit, siomai with a smoky twist. Luz taught him how to taste the Filipino soul in each bite, how to never lose that balance of salt, sweet, and love. Soon, their experiments reached the regional manager. He was so impressed, he called the corporate office. "Sir, we have something special happening here. This isn't just fast food anymore. This is culture." That call changed everything. Within a year, Chowking USA launched a campaign called Proudly Pinoy, Proudly Global. Billboards appeared across California with the slogan, "Not just fast food, Filipino food." And for the first time, America listened. Celebrities started posting halo selfies. Talk shows featured Filipino dishes. A-listers like food critic Jaden Lau and actress Zoe Bloom called it the most authentic comfort food we didn't know we needed. Chowking became a bridge, not just between cuisines, but between cultures. Filipinos felt seen. Americans felt welcomed. Inside the Sunset Boulevard branch, the walls were now filled with photos, old and new. One showed the original team on opening day, smiling nervously. Another showed Luz standing beside Elian, both holding plates of halo under a banner that read, "The Taste That United LA." It was surreal. Luz would sometimes walk out after closing time, looking at the glowing Chowking sign under the night sky. The same sign that once made people laugh now made them hungry, not for food, but for understanding. She'd whisper to the stubborn Nino under the register, "Thank you, Lord, you really do turn shame into blessing." But every great story has a final test. Months later, corporate executives announced that Chowking was invited to join the Global Street Food Festival in New York City, an international event featuring the world's best fast food and fusion brands. From Japan's Sukiya to Mexico's Taqueria El Pastor, Chowking would represent the Philippines. And to lead the cooking team, they chose Luz and Elian. It was an honor, but also a risk. New York was ruthless. Food critics there could destroy reputations overnight. When the news broke, some people mocked again. Chowking? Competing with Japan and Italy? Come on. It's just rice and soy sauce. It's not real cuisine. But this time, the laughter didn't scare them. Because they'd heard it all before. They had learned that when the world laughs, you don't shout back. You serve them a plate so good. They can't speak. And as Luz and Elian boarded the plane for New York, they looked out the window together. The sun was rising over Los Angeles, reflecting on the streets that once mocked their food. Luz smiled softly. "Ready, Anak?" Elian nodded, ready to make the world taste what they've been missing. In the cargo hold below, hundreds of ingredients, garlic, soy sauce, vinegar, calamansi, and love, waited for their final test. The world didn't know it yet, but a Filipino restaurant that once almost closed on Sunset Boulevard was about to shock the culinary stage of the world. The sun over New York City looked different that morning. Colder, sharper, unforgiving. The air buzzed with anticipation as dozens of chefs, cooks, and culinary teams from around the world unloaded crates of ingredients onto the vast plaza outside the Global Street Food Festival. There were banners everywhere. Japan's Sukiya, India's Biryani Bros, Italy's Napoli Express, Korea's Bibim Nation, and tucked in the corner, a small red and yellow sign that simply read, Chowking, Philippines. Luz stood under it, hands trembling slightly as she unpacked the ingredients. Garlic, vinegar, soy sauce, shrimp, noodles, rice, the humble tools of her life. Around her were high-tech food trucks with chrome counters and LED menus. Chowking's booth was simple, 2 tables, a portable fryer, and a borrowed banner. Beside her, Elian tried to stay calm, but his heart raced. It was his first international stage, cameras everywhere, reporters swarming. Famous chefs walked by like gods in white coats. He could hear the whispers. Chowking? Isn't that like fast food? Yeah, from LA, right? Weird choice for this level of event. I guess they needed diversity points. He felt anger rising, but Luz touched his arm gently. Anak, she said softly. We've been here before. He looked at her, the same calm eyes that faced mockery a year ago in Los Angeles. He nodded, exhaled, and began preparing. The challenge was simple but brutal. Each team had 4 hours to create a dish that represented their country, something that captured its heart and soul. Judges would taste and score based on originality, authenticity, and emotion. They had chosen to serve chow fan with pork siomai and halo halo, the ultimate trio of Filipino comfort food. To outsiders, it seemed too simple. To Luz and Elian, it was everything. Elian took charge of the wok, the massive flame roaring beneath it. Luz handled the siomai steamer, each dumpling arranged like little treasures. The scent of garlic, soy, and sesame filled the air, cutting through the fancy aromas of truffle and saffron drifting from nearby booths. At first, no one came near their stall. People flocked to the Italians twirling pasta midair, to the Japanese precision chefs slicing tuna like silk. Chowking looked ordinary, a small booth manned by an old woman and a young man cooking rice. Then, something happened. A gust of wind carried the scent of their fried garlic across the festival grounds. Rich, smoky, sweet. It turned heads. A few curious visitors stopped by. Smells good. What is that? One asked. Luz smiled warmly. It's chow fan, sir. Filipino fried rice. You want to try? They took a bite, hesitant at first, then suddenly wide-eyed. Holy, that's amazing! Soon the line grew longer. Even the camera crew from Food Network noticed and began filming. Elian moved like a dancer behind the counter, tossing rice, cracking eggs, stirring siomai sauce, all with rhythm and confidence. Luz called out orders, plating food with quick, practiced grace. The booth that started empty was now surrounded. And when they served halo halo, layers of shaved ice, sweet beans, lech flan, and purple oob under a swirl of milk, the crowd gasped. It looked like edible art. Reporters leaned in. What's this called? Halo halo, Luz said, smiling. It means mix, just like our country, many things together, but still one. That line alone went viral within hours. By the time the judges approached, Chowking had already become the talk of the festival. The lead judge, a stern French chef named Laurent Dubois, raised an eyebrow. This is fast food? Elian nodded. Yes, sir. Filipino fast food, the judge frowned. Fast food is rarely good food. Elian smiled slightly. Then today, sir, we'll change your mind. They presented 3 plates, one each of chow fan, pork siomai, and halo halo. The judges tasted in silence. The first spoonful of chow fan drew surprise. Dubois looked up, almost annoyed. That's balanced. Salty, smoky, sweet but clean. How did you make it taste like this? Elian explained, we use patis and fish sauce for salt, not just soy. It gives flavor from the sea. The next judge, a Japanese culinary master, tried the siomai. Tender, simple, but it melts perfectly. Finally, the halo halo. The last spoonful made everyone pause. Lech flan, uba, ice, milk, fruit, somehow chaotic and perfect all at once. Luz stood still, wringing her hands. Elian's heart pounded. Dubois put the spoon down. I have judged food festivals for 20 years, he said slowly. But this tastes like memory. Like home, even if it's not my home, he looked at Luz. Where did you learn to cook? She smiled shyly. In Quezon City, sir. My mama's kitchen. We didn't have fancy pots, just love and garlic. The crowd laughed softly, touched. When the scores were announced that evening, the results shocked everyone. Third place went to Italy. Second place, Japan. And first place, Chowking, Philippines. The plaza erupted. Cheers, confetti, tears. Luz covered her face and sobbed as Elian hugged her tightly. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. Food Network anchors shouted into microphones, "History made today in New York City. A Filipino fast food brand just defeated culinary giants from across the world." Even the skeptical French judge smiled and shook Luz's hand. "You have reminded us," he said, "that greatness doesn't always wear a chef's hat." That night, news outlets from CNN to BBC ran the headline, "From laughter to legend, the Filipino fast food that conquered the world." Chowking's stock prices skyrocketed. The Los Angeles branch became a pilgrimage site. And back in the Philippines, thousands watched the broadcast live, tears streaming as they saw their humble food honored on the global stage. Luz and Elian returned home to heroes' welcomes. At the airport, reporters asked how it felt to win against the world's best. Luz said softly, "It's not about winning. It's about showing that our food, our culture, our people, we belong on the world's table." Months later, Elian opened his own restaurant, Halo at Alon, fusing Filipino tradition with global creativity. Chowking remained his mentor and Luz his second mother. In Los Angeles, the original Chowking branch built a small statue outside, a bronze wok and spoon engraved with the words, "From mockery to miracle, for the Filipino who never gave up." And sometimes, when Luz walked past that statue on her way to work, she'd whisper a quiet prayer. "Salamat po, Lord, for showing the world what we've always known, that Filipino food, like the Filipino heart, always rises." The story of Chowking wasn't just about food anymore. It was about identity, resilience, and pride. The laughter that once echoed in mockery now echoed in joy, because in the end they didn't just serve rice. They served redemption, and when America tasted it, they never forgot.